So this time I want to electrolyze my 1972 clad half that I dug out in the cornfield. Pretty simple. Step one, dig yourself a clad $50. It's already got all of the nickel plating worn off. The green spot above the ear right on the sideburn there that looks like gum is optional. Yours does not have to have that. Step two, a glass or plastic bowl with a solution of water, and I'm using baking soda. I believe you can use salt too. Step three is your electrolysis kit. Mine happens to be a tiny laptop charger. I believe it's a 16 volt. Split here into its positive and negative leads. Positive lead goes to your not your target. In this case it's a spoon. I've heard no, don't use a spoon, but whatever, I got a spoon. And negative goes to the piece you're going to electrolyze. So here it is before. There's a little bit more action in this setup, mostly because it's 16 volts and not a 12 volt setup. I'm not an expert, but I know them bubbles means it's working. One side has oxygen coming off of it, the other side has hydrogen coming off of it. They're not a big deal to worry about. Hydrogen's going to float straight up in the sky and just dissipate. Oxygen can hang around. It's not going to hurt you though. It's pretty good for you. It's been in there about 2 minutes. We're going to check it at the 5-minute mark and see how it goes. And here it is at the 5-minute mark on the side of tails. Now I think that well, this sort of proves it, but it's a line of sight sort of thing. The side of the coin that the spoon could directly see is now shiny and brass, copper looking, shiny copper looking, and the head side is still kind of tarnishy looking. Not as bad, so I think overnight it would have gone, but this way's a lot quicker. That's 5 minutes. So, whoops. I don't know if it's bright enough yet. We'll do it for a few more minutes on this side, and we'll switch to this side, show you when it's done. I think it's going to look cool as heck. And here it is after, I think it was probably 5 minutes on either side. If I get the glare right, you can't tell it's copper, but the color's not too good because my lighting is fluorescent. The camera doesn't pick up color all that great, but it is a shiny copper coin. Let's see if it works better on a background. There we go. Now you get some comparison to the white behind it. And all I did was dab it dry with a paper towel and run it around my soft wire brush like I showed you in the other video a couple times once it was dry. See, that green stuff came off of his head, and other than not having any nickel on it anymore, the coin itself is in damn good shape for being dug out of the ground. I mean, even for circulation, every damn time. Even for being in circulation for who knows how long before it was dropped. Could have been dropped the day after it was minted for all I know. But it's in real good shape. Still a little crud behind his head over here. But there it goes. So now I want to try a still silver 1982 quarter. Let's put that in the electrolysis and see what happens. Take our negative, pinch the quarter, and the bubbles start instantly. Leave that in there for a few minutes, see what happens. Just curious. And after 5 minutes in the electrolysis, we have zero change to the nickel plating. on the quarter. Here's the comparison, silver to copper. So we now know that there's zero effect on a still clad coin, and quite nice results on one that's got the nickel all worn off. This one's a 72D. It's not proof quality, obviously. There's no mirror finish here or anything like that, but and all the pitting that you see is intentional on the copper itself. That's sort of the primer, scratch coat finish that allows the nickel to stick better, or so I've read. But there it is, folks. Electrolyzed 72D Kennedy half. So now I have 100% copper Kennedy half. It's pretty cool. Now let's see what happens with this clip. I think it's going to be aluminum, anodized aluminum, and that middle gob is the spring that used to be in it, all gone to crap. So let's see what happens. More fun with electrolysis, boys and girls. Try this at home. Well, we got that clip in there for about 20 minutes now, and it's starting to dissolve the rust. You can see the discoloring in the water. One thing I never realized, I've done several electrolysis projects. I've never realized before, but you can tell with this small of a scale, maybe it's the higher voltage that I'm using, but it's warming the water quite a bit. I mean, it was straight out of the tap on the cold side from the kitchen, so it was probably, you know, 65 degrees coming out of the tap, and it's got to be a good 75, 78 degrees, maybe even 80 degrees now. And you can see it's breaking it down a little bit. I'm going to leave it in a little bit longer. This isn't a relic of any kind that I would care to save, you know, for any length of time or whatever, but still a cool experiment. I did notice too that the closer we get, the more reaction we get. You can see the bubbles increase in volume when we get really close to the spoon versus further away from the spoon. Naturally, of course. I could also only assume that being that close with less resistance is going to put more strain on your power supply and eventually could make it think there's a short circuit and ruin it. So try not to keep it too close. And here it is, finished as best I'm going to get it. You can see that the main functional framework of it is a brass, probably nickel plated or anodized of some kind, or maybe it was shiny brass, I don't know. But this top part is part of the spring, and you can see under here where the pin that goes through is actually flat, so that would act as a lever for the spring. Secured at the top with these two tabs that go through the back side. So you can get quite a good idea of what you had, what it was before it deteriorated, by doing some electrolysis to it. More fun with electrolysis to come. This is fun just to sit here and smoke a cigar, drink a couple of beers, and let this stuff bubble. Thanks for watching. So there you have it. The electrolysis process is pretty simple. You can even take some of those scrambled signals that you find when you dig them out of the ground, and they look like this, only to find out that after some electrolysis and you know, picking off the rust flakes as you go, more electrolysis, you could end up looking like this. Now granted, it's only a little tiny cog lock or cam lock, off of an old clock or something along those lines, where it would, you know, tick and not be allowed to go back, and then tick and not be allowed to go back by that little lock lever. But you never know what's inside those little rusty clumps. So it's worthwhile to give it a shot if you're, you know, bored with nothing else to do, rainy days, rainy nights, that kind of stuff. Save up your old iron clumps and see what's inside if they give you scrambled signals. Sometimes it's just an iron clump. Sometimes it's something good inside that was attached to steel, and because they're two different metals, the corrosion process is absorbed by the weaker metal, which is usually steel, unless it's zinc, obviously. But the more corrosive material will absorb the corrosion process before the nicer metals. So that little tiny cam lock or cam cog lock thingy dooflinky, whatever that is, was inside of a boogery ball of rust. And it's pretty fun to see what you come up with. Have fun with it. Swing, beep, dig.